The day was Friday, and the dude who wrote and performed "Fuck the Police" was stressing about getting fired on his day off. Existing in a slice of South Central LA, where the real tension was just two friends spending one long day dodging trouble and responsibility, Friday became a time capsule into 90s culture, friendship, and the weight of the choices we make and the spaces in between. The film has certainly aged well, but what about the cast? How have they aged and fared career-wise since they starred in this breath of fresh air? Well, if you've already hit that subscribe button, we can get to how the cast of Friday looks like then and now. Craig Jones, the man who somehow managed to get fired on his day off, was brought to life by none other than O'Shea Jackson Sr., better known to the world as Ice Cube. When Friday hit theaters in '95, Cube was 25 years old, fresh-faced, but already an icon, having just spent the early 90s shaking up America's suburbs with NWA and his solo records. But now here he was, playing Craig, someone who wasn't a gangster or dealer, but just a guy who wanted to sit on his porch, mind his business, and maybe eat a bowl of cereal in peace. Craig's character wasn't flashy. He was sarcastic, stubborn, and a little too proud for his own good. He started his day jobless, bored and annoyed by those unfiltered Jehovah's Witnesses.
Well, fuck you.
But over the course of that chaotic Friday, Craig quietly grew up. When the sun went down and he was forced to confront the neighborhood bully, Craig learned what real strength was. Not the kind you needed a gun for, but the kind that came from standing up, taking responsibility, and protecting the people you love. By the end of the movie, Craig was still broke and unemployed, but now he had a little more backbone, a lot more clarity, and was a full-blown pothead. As for Ice Cube himself, his story after Friday is its own kind of glow-up. Cube built a career that aged like a fine-aged bottle of Remy. Gritty at first, but surprisingly smooth and commercially successful in the long run. Today, Ice Cube is currently 55 years old, a full-grown mogul, and a father of 5. The hardcore rapper from one of the most gang-infested cities in America became a beloved on-screen dad who taught a generation how to hold it down on and off the porch. Next up, we have Smokey, the human embodiment of letting life control the wheel. Smokey was played by the one and only Chris Tucker, who was 23 years old by the time Friday was premiering. Smokey wasn't a fighter or a tough guy. He was that dude who talked way too much, smoked way too much, and somehow managed to get everyone into trouble while ducking the smoke himself. Whether it was owing money to Big Worm or dragging Craig deeper into his beefs, Smokey was the spark that set the whole day on fire, literally and figuratively. But underneath that carefree, whatever attitude, Smokey was a lovable, loyal friend who took responsibility when needed. What made Smokey special wasn't just that he was funny, it was that he was real. Everybody knew a Smokey growing up. That friend who in 1 minute would get you in trouble, but in the next would have you laughing so hard your stomach would hurt. In a way, that was a part of the magic of the movie, the relatable characters. Chris Tucker's career after Friday, now that's a whole saga. After Friday blew up, he became Hollywood's favorite fast-talking, high-energy comedic sidekick. He skipped out on the sequels, a decision that broke many a fan's heart, but would skyrocket him into superstardom with roles that turned him from a 4-figure actor to an 8-figure per movie actor. By the mid-2000s, he slowed down, stepped away from the spotlight, leaned into stand-up again, and found religion. As of today, Chris Tucker is 53 years old, but is still that charming, lightning fast talker that still shows up on stages and in the occasional film. Now for the girl next door with the perfect mix of I will smile at you sweetly, but also call out your bullshit. Next up, we have Debbie. She was played by the effortlessly cool and criminally underrated Nia Long, who, when Friday dropped in 1995, was just 24 years old, right at the beginning of her reign as every 90s kid's dream girl. She was that rare kind of woman who could see the circus happening all around her, but didn't get caught up in it. She checked her messy sister, checked the neighborhood bully, and most importantly, she checked Craig when he needed it. She had that quiet, effortless grace that made her the one girl in the hood who actually had her life together. Debbie was more than just the pretty girl next door. She was the light at the end of the block, The kind of woman who reminded you that even in the middle of all the nonsense, something real was possible. As for Nia Long, she became black Hollywood royalty, no exaggeration. After Friday, she went on a legendary run, appearing in a dozen other films, where she perfected the art of playing the one that got away, unless you grew up. Nia Long wasn't just an actress. She became the blueprint of beauty, poise, and don't play with me energy all in one. Currently, Nia Long is 54 years old, still flawless, still working, and still the internet's forever crush. She's weathered Hollywood, motherhood, internet obsession, and the madness of fame, all while keeping that same energy Debbie had, the kind that made you want to get your act together just to be in her orbit. Now, for the man, the myth, and the reason why grown folks still lock their bikes up at family cookouts. Next up, we have Debo. Debo was played by the late, unforgettable Tom Tiny Lister Jr., who, at the time Friday came out, was 37 years old. Built like a linebacker, with a stare cold enough to make you cross the street just to avoid him. Debo wasn't just a neighborhood bully. He was the bully. The dude didn't just take your bike. He made you hand it to him willingly, and then dared you to say something about it. He was the walking, breathing definition of that one person in every neighborhood who was too big, too mean, and somehow never had any friends, just terrified acquaintances. By the end of the film, when Craig finally squared up against him, it wasn't just about Debo. It was about standing up to every bully, every oppressor, and every overgrown problem life threw at you. But here's the thing people didn't always know. Tiny Lister was nothing like Debo off-screen. By all accounts, he was sweet, funny, deeply spiritual, and loved by everyone who met him. In 2020, the world lost him at 62 years old, and suddenly everyone realized how much he wasn't the villain, just a big-hearted guy who spent his life playing the heavy, so the rest of us could cheer when someone finally stood up to him. Rest in peace also to this absolute legend. Willie Jones, better known as Craig's daddy, was played by the late, great John Witherspoon. When Friday came out in 1995, Witherspoon was 53 years old and already a seasoned comedian and character actor. But Friday was the movie that stamped him in everyone's household forever. Willie Jones wasn't your typical TV dad. He wasn't warm and cuddly, but was loud, uncensored, and always ready to hit you with life lessons, usually while on the toilet, or while chowing down a bag of grapes like a pack of M&Ms. But under all that barking and yelling about dog catchers and dirty drawers, Willie Jones was the dad that mattered. The kind who worked hard, took no nonsense, and loved his family the only way he knew how, through tough love, unhinged jokes, and life lessons disguised as comedy. As for John Witherspoon, his career aged like a family recipe, always familiar, always hilarious, and never outdated. After Friday, he reprised his role in the sequels Next Friday and Friday After Next, popped up in classics like The Wayans Brothers, and lent his unmistakable voice to Granddad in The Boondocks, giving an entirely new generation their own taste of pop's wild energy. Sadly, the world lost John Witherspoon in 2019 at the age of 77. But the thing about Witherspoon is, it's like he never really left. His voice, his comedic timing, and his dad-isms live on in every corner of pop culture. Anytime someone talks about taking a shit for 45 minutes, or whips out a belt with the accuracy of Bruce Lee with his nunchucks, you can see or hear Pops in there. Rest in peace to this absolute legend. For the calm and the storm, the voice of reason and the master of minding her business until she couldn't anymore. Next up we have Betty Jones, played by the elegant and hilarious Anna Maria Horsford, who was 47 years old when Friday blessed the world. Betty Jones was the classic mom who was just trying to keep the peace and her household together. She wasn't over the top or loud, but you could tell when Betty spoke. You listened. Throughout the film, her character quietly shows what a real backbone looks like. She wasn't running around causing chaos, but she made sure the family was intact. And when Willie Jones started talking crazy, she was the one to reel him back in with one sharp look or a smack on the head. Outside of Friday, Anna remained a working actress, a beloved TV mom, and a class act all around. She's had a long and celebrated career in TV and film, from her role as Thelma on Amen to to appearances in the Wayans Bros, The Bold and the Beautiful, and countless others. Today, Anna Maria Horsford stands at 77 years old, gracefully aging like the neighborhood mama she portrayed. Played by the incredible Regina King at just 24 years old. Next up, we have Craig's sister, Dana Jones. Dana was a supporting character who felt like the snarky, sharp-tongued little sister you grew up with, or were terrorized by. In Friday, Dana wasn't caught up in the drama, the fighting, or the smoking. She was doing what every little sister does best, talking slick, obsessing over her hair, and keeping her distance until she had to get involved. She popped up just long enough to remind Craig that he wasn't as cool as he thought he was, and that even in the middle of the madness, she was still the smartest person in the room. As for Regina King, talk about a career that aged like royalty. After Friday, she went from being Craig's little sister to one of the most decorated, respected, and booked and busy actresses of her generation. She crushed it in films like Jerry Maguire, Ray, and Poetic Justice. She then became the voice of Huey and Riley Freeman in The Boondocks, and then fully leveled up as an award-winning director and an Academy Award, Golden Globe, and multiple Emmy-winning actress. As of today, Regina King is 54 years old, not just an actress anymore, but a powerhouse, a director, and a living legend who turned small supporting roles into a foundation for one of the most respected careers in Hollywood. Now for the neighborhood freeloader who accidentally became a cultural phenomenon. Next up, we have Felicia, played by Angela Means, who was 31 years old when Friday dropped. Felicia wasn't supposed to be the star, but somehow her name, her vibe, and that one legendary line lived longer than anyone could have imagined.
Craig.
Bye, Felicia.
Subsequently dooming any Felicias out there for a lifetime. In the world of Friday, Felicia was that neighbor who always popped up when you were rolling something, eating something, or minding your business, asking to borrow something, and never quite putting the pieces together for herself. Her entire storyline in Friday revolved around one thing: getting curved. Whether it was asking Craig for anything or lurking around Debbie's business, she became the embodiment of that one person who kept coming around when nobody wanted them there. But here's the kicker: Felicia wasn't a bad person. She wasn't evil or hurting anyone. She was just lost, messy, and misunderstood, just like half the people we grew up around. And ironically, the world clowned her for being a freeloader. But really, she was just trying to survive in a neighborhood where everybody was struggling. As for Angela Means, after Friday, her acting career was brief, but her face and that name became immortal. She quietly left Hollywood, became a vegan chef, raised her family, and built a whole second career out of wellness and community work. As of today, Angela is currently 61 years old, still out here living her life, occasionally popping up to remind people she's more than the meme. But honestly, she didn't need to, because deep down, everyone knew that Felicia wasn't the joke. She was the reflection of the folks society stepped over every day. For the neighborhood ice cream man with a perm so tight you could bounce a quarter off it. Next up, we have Big Worm, played by a 26-year-old Faison Love. Big Worm wasn't your average small-time hustler. Nah, he was the perfect blend of funny and terrifying. In the world of Friday, Big Worm wasn't a villain in the traditional sense. He was a businessman. An entrepreneur, if you will. His product just happened to be a little illegal. The way he delivered lines like "playing with my money is like playing with my emotions" was comedy gold. But underneath it, you could tell Worm meant business. You couldn't laugh too hard, or else you'd end up ducking drive-bys like Craig and Smokey did. What made Big Worm so iconic wasn't just his ridiculous aesthetic, it was how real he felt. Every hood had a Big Worm, that one dude who took himself way too seriously, thought he was running an empire, and couldn't stand being disrespected, even if it was over pocket change. As for Faison Love, after Friday, he kept it moving in Hollywood, carving out a career as one of the funniest, most recognizable big men in the game. He popped up in films like Elf, The Replacements, Money Talks, and a whole string of comedies, where he played everything from lovable oafs to loud, blunt straight shooters. Currently, Faison Love is 56 years old, still working, still unapologetically himself, occasionally stirring the pot on social media, and forever known as the man who ran the only ice cream truck in history that doubled as a drive-by command center. Portrayed by a hip-hop legend that often goes overlooked today. Next up, we have Red. Played by a 26-year-old DJ Pooh, Red wasn't a gangster or a hustler. He was just a regular dude, trying to mind his own business, rock his bike, and wear his chain in peace, until Debo snatched it straight off his neck and turned him into a walking cautionary tale. Red's whole arc was basically get bullied, get knocked out, and try to hold on to a shred of dignity. But the beauty of it was everyone felt Red, because at least everybody knew what it felt like to get embarrassed in front of the whole block, while trying to stand up for yourself, and end up on the concrete instead. And behind the character was a powerhouse that was DJ Pooh. Long before Friday, he was a respected producer and writer in West Coast hip-hop, working with Ice Cube, Snoop Dogg, and Dr. Drew. After Friday, he kept writing, producing, and quietly shaping the sound and stories of the culture. Whether if it was through music, films, or even his work on Grand Theft Auto, San Andreas. Today, DJ Pooh is 55 years old, still out here thriving behind the scenes. Still respected as one of the architects of West Coast storytelling, and probably still getting stopped in public by people yelling "My grandma gave me that chain" at him. Next up, we got the woman who made grown men stop mid-conversation, Mrs. Parker. Played by a 44-year-old Kathleen Bradley. Mrs. Parker wasn't just a character. She was an entire mood, a whole vibe. The ultimate fine anti-prototype before the internet had the words for it. In the world of Friday, Mrs. Parker wasn't out here doing the most, but was just out there, watering her lawn in the tiniest shorts, moving like she knew exactly how many eyes were on her. She wasn't in the thick of the plot, but her presence shifted the energy every time she walked outside. Her character was a walking reminder that the hood was full of stories, not all of them violent or sad, some of them just plain messy, flirtatious, and funny. Kathleen Bradley had a pretty amazing career outside of Friday, too. Before the movie, she made history as the first black model on The Price is Right. Mrs. Parker was out here breaking barriers and breaking necks long before Friday. She stayed active in entertainment, popping up in various projects and embracing her cult classic status as the woman who stopped traffic without trying. Today, Kathleen Bradley is 74 years old, still shining and still recognized everywhere she goes as Mrs. Parker, the woman who made the whole neighborhood forget their problems for a minute. Portrayed by the late, great Bernie Mac, who was 36 years old when Friday hit theaters, Pastor Clever was a masterclass in contradiction. All holy on Sunday, but funny, foul, and fast talking every other day of the week. In Friday, Pastor Cleaver wasn't a major player in the chaos, but he was comedy gold because he exposed something everybody knew but never talked about: the blurred lines between righteousness and ratchetness in the neighborhood. And then there's Bernie Mac, a true comedy titan. Friday was just a glimpse of what he could do. After that, he skyrocketed to fame. From his legendary stand-up career to headlining his own sitcom to embodying iconic roles in films like Ocean's Trilogy, Mr. 3000, and more, Bernie's style remained raw, honest, and hilarious. The kind of comedy that made you laugh until it hurt. Sadly, Bernie Mac passed away in 2008 at the age of 50. His death hit hard because he wasn't just a funny man. He was the heart and soul of so many stories. By 2025, Bernie's legend has only grown bigger. His voice, his laugh, and that pearly white smile has stayed iconic. Played by a 25-year-old Paula Jai Parker. Next up, we have Joey. The epitome of a possessive girlfriend, Joey brought drama, suspicion, and a whole lot of attitude into Craig's life. Joey's character served as a source of comedic tension, as she was the kind of girlfriend who would call you up, accuse you of infidelity while having another man lounging in the background during the call. Her constant mistrust and over-the-top reactions provided a humorous look at relationship dynamics, especially when juxtaposed with Craig's laid-back demeanor. The iconic phone call scene where she confronts Craig while clearly being unfaithful herself is a standout moment that has been referenced and parodied countless times. Paula Jai Parker has enjoyed a diverse career in Hollywood, with roles spanning film and television. Beyond Friday, she's appeared in projects like Hustle and Flow and The Proud Family. Today, at 55 years old, Paula continues to be a dynamic presence in the entertainment industry, her portrayal of Joy remaining a fan favorite. And that's a wrap. From the front porch on a random Friday in South Central to the Hollywood stages and beyond, these faces, moments, and laughs never really left us. Some went on to legendary careers, some stayed low-key. But every single one of them helped build a cult classic that still hits almost the same 30 years later. Drop a comment on who's your favorite Friday character. And if you're feeling extra generous, why don't you hit that like and subscribe button so as you don't miss the next deep dive into another classic film's then and now story.